Hello, welcome to Community View. My name is Sherry Collin. Today we have some very exciting guests. Sonoran Paranormal Investigations. We have two co-founders, David Delgado and Paul Bradford. They will be sharing the latest technological advance and hot off the press information about recent Arizona investigation. Welcome back. Pretty interesting what you just saw. With us we have David and Paul. David?
Yes.
And Paul.
Hi.
Wow. Paul, why don't you tell us about your latest invention?
Okay. First of all, we have what's called an infrared floodlight. Basically, what a floodlight is your standard cameras can see a general distance. Something like a Sony camcorder can see a distance of about 7 feet in total darkness. So with this, it now means you can see a whole room in total darkness. This is basically invisible to the naked eye. And that's the IR flood. As well as that, we have an EMF meter. This basically is used to detect electromagnetic fields. This basically, I mean, it's just an LED readout rather than your standard digital readout and such, and is basically something which we use as a debunking device. A lot of reports claim paranoia, nausea, the feeling of being watched, and that's been attributed to EMF. So basically what we do is we look for sources where there's perhaps a lot of electrical cables, somewhere like maybe a power outlet that can actually have a very high reading of EMF, and when that's usually the case, as I say, it could be attributed to the feeling of being watched, and it's really nothing paranormal. It's something very natural and scientific. Additionally, we have a...
Now, what is your latest or your strongest invention that you choose?
My strongest invention would be, at the moment, is the strobe light. The strobe is actually an experimental piece of equipment. The idea basically behind the strobe was there's a theory that perhaps ghosts and spirits actually are present in a different dimension. And this dimension actually moves at a much faster pace than what we do generally. So on that basis, I looked into technologies that would be that would help aid someone to see fast-moving objects. Now, strobe light is used in businesses basically as an industrial application to be able to see the rotations or the balancing of machinery. So on that basis, what I did is I developed the strobe as an infrared device, so that it doesn't affect the investigation. It can't be seen by the naked eye, but it can be picked up by your night vision cameras. And that basically has a flash rate, which means that the camera then may be able to pick up something that's fast moving. A good example of that is if you take an ordinary strobe and actually face it towards a normal household fan. When you look at the fan under the strobe, it looks like the fan's moving at a much slower rate, and that's where the theory basically came from. So that's the strobe. We also have a device here which is used for detecting vibrations. It's very much like an earthquake detection, a seismic detector, but basically what this does, and I'll just plug this in here, I don't know if you can see, but if I tap the table, the LEDs flash. Now basically what that is...
That would be a good device for deaf people if you want to get attention then get their
That's it.
attention. Okay,
Well,
that's a good
Yeah,
invention.
new market for that. Yeah, I'll market that one somewhere else now. But basically, I mean, you get a lot of reports out there that perhaps so they're like people are lying in bed and they feel the bed shake, or they're sitting at their study or sitting in a chair and they feel the chair being shook. So what we can do is you can place that on a headboard or on a desk and have a camera watching it. And if there really is some sort of vibration, this will tell us. So that's quite a useful device as well. And then we have one of my favourites, which is really more of a toy. This is basically, let's turn that to there. Now what this basically is obviously a tank, but what I've done is I've upgraded the aerial. The antenna is obviously a lot bigger now. The camera on the front, instead of a turret and a gun and all that, I basically put a wireless infrared camera. It's all self-powered. So what I can do, I mean, if for example, we get a report that there's noises underneath the floorboards, what we can do is we can put this under like a crawl space. So we haven't got to go in there ourselves, and we can then just basically have the tank go under there, send the signal back to our television, and you know, we can sit in one spot and we can just basically pan around and see what's going on, you know, without actually having to be there. So if there is, say, a nest of skunks or snakes or something under the house, we're not putting ourselves in danger, which obviously we don't want to do. So what that basically does is it prevents us from getting into trouble, but it also helps us to be able to debunk again, so, which is basically what we like to do.
Wow. Talk about your work that you've done with Barry Fishgold of the Ghost Hunter and his GHI regarding to IR strobe light. Can you explain that?
Yeah, back to the strobe. The theory, I basically sat and I was talking to Barry Fitzgerald, and as you say, he's from Ghost Hunters International and Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel, and we were talking about the theory that I had with the whole, you know, the fast-moving flashes and stuff, and he liked the idea in that he also wanted to test it himself. However, he's been working on what they call the full spectrum camera. Now, full spectrum camera basically is a camera that can see all light, you know, even invisible light. It can see everything. So certain things that are invisible to us that we can't see, his camera can. So I basically developed a special one for Barry, which is not just infrared, but also uses UV, which is ultraviolet. And apparently he's been getting some good results, you know, so very pleased with that.
Wow, this is really interesting, all of this thing, how you can catch things out.